In this video, we're going to set up a hall type sound from scratch. Okay, so I've created a sound that is about as far away from a natural hall sound as you can possibly get, while still using the hall algorithm here. So let's just have a listen to what we have here, and I'll explain why it is not suitable for a hall type sound.
'Cause they don't want me as I am. They would never understand it. No, from above them.
Okay, so hopefully what you're hearing there is we don't have this long, smooth reverb tail. We actually have this immediate build up that is extremely metallic, quite bouncy and zippy, so it almost sounds like a spring reverb to me. And some of the reasons why this is the case is that we have shape and spread at 0, so it's not blooming over time like a hall would. It's very, very immediate. It also has all of the high frequency content in it. We've also got the high frequencies decaying at the same rate as the low frequencies. And finally, we also have our decay optimization set to effects mode, which means our shape and spread and reverb time are not tied to our size, so we can get easily unrealistic sounds. Okay, so what I'm going to do to start with is immediately change DCO to be one of the reverb modes, which means several parameters like shape, spread and reverb time are linked to size, and therefore make it easy to keep it within the confines of a realistic space. So let's go ahead and play this again.
'Cause they don't want me as I am. They would never.
Great, so now that the DCO is set to one of the reverb modes, we can go back to the quick page and see that our size is all the way down. So our reverb time here is 168 milliseconds. Okay, when we were back on the EFX mode, we can see that it's 1.73 seconds. So we can see how, when we've got a small size and our reverb time is up, we don't necessarily have a small RTM, even though our size is very low. So let's go ahead and set that back to the default, which is 7 in reverb mode. And let's go ahead and bring our size up until we have a reverb time of around 2 to 3 seconds.
No, from above this. Why am I at the bottom now? They don't.
So already what we have is a smoother, much less zippy sound. So we've gone from having a kind of more mechanical spring-like sound to something that is much more reminiscent of the smoothness of a hall. And the reason that we start with the size parameter is under the hood, the size parameter scales the lengths of the delay lines and makes them longer. So higher sizes have longer delay lines, and therefore it is much easier to get a less coloured reverb tail at higher sizes. So what we've done is we've increased the size, and pretty much all the time when I'm using a lexicon style reverb, I will start with the size parameter and then fine tune the reverb time, just like we've done here. The next step for me will be to mess with the shape and spread to make it kind of bloom in the way that a natural space would. So the idea here is that we want to let the dry sound have its moment to shine and have the reverb build up over time. Okay, so let's do that. Now that already to me has made a huge difference. It's got that shape for the original sound to breathe, and then the reverb tail takes over. So let's just go ahead and turn the shape and spread down and then back up so you can kind of hear the difference.
'Cause they don't want me as I am.
so it has much more space to breathe. Okay, now what I want to do is reduce the high frequency content and with the high multiplier, and what this is going to do is reduce the high frequency so it decays much faster than the mids or the lows. So that feels really good now. We don't have that kind of zippy top end and the kind of brightness in there. One thing I do want to do is actually increase the low frequencies a bit more, so I've got a little bit more low end richness. So let's increase this multiplier. Somewhere in the range of 1.2 to 1.4 works best. And in the high frequency, I find that area between 0.2 to 0.4 to be my optimum range for the average concert hall. So that sounds much more like a concert hall space to me. Finally, the last thing that I want to look at is bringing this high frequency cutoff down a little bit to further dull out the top end. So this is actually working as a filter after it's gone through the reverb section.
'Cause they don't want me as I am. They would never understand it. No, from above this, why am I at the bottom now? They don't want me.
So that feels pretty good. I'm actually going to bring the size down one more. And that's just to make it a little less slappy. So that's feeling pretty accurate to me. So this gives you a good setup to help you program hall-like sounds right from the ground up. The final thing I want to mention that we didn't mention throughout this video is that in the density page here, you want to have your diffusion set up to nearly maximum, because again, we want halls to have this dense, highly diffuse sound to them. So you want to make sure your diffusion is also very high. If you want to kind of make this a little bit grittier, you can also increase the reverb level here to levels above 160. But in this case, I kind of want to have a kind of smoother character, so I'm going to leave that where it is.